Welcome back to the Road to National series. In today's episode, I'm going to take you through a max effort lower workout. So my max effort variation for this week was a banded 3-inch block pull with the heaviest bands I have. Here I managed to hit 130 kilos, which was actually more than I thought I was going to be able to do. That was what I was optimistically going to hit, but because it moved so easily, I went for 150 kilos of bar weight here, and it was a bit more of a grind to lockout, but I hit it and pretty easily. So I was very, very happy with that. I massively overperformed compared to what I thought I would, and banded deadlifts are normally very challenging for me because my weakness is locking out a deadlift, and that's when the band tension's at its highest. So the fact that that was like comparable to 340 kilos at the very top was very good for me and very promising for my deadlifting going forward. So I was happy with that. Then, moving on to the first accessory here, I was doing elevated heel squats, and I decided to use the safety squat bar just because it's so comfortable and practical, and I did these for some triples. So this was something I don't usually do. I don't normally do my accessories as low as triples. However, on my lower days, my first accessories are always some large compound movement. If I've done a deadlift, it's going to be a leg push, which is some sort of pushing with your legs. It could be a hack squat or a pendulum squat or a belt squat, or in this case, elevated heel squats. It can be single leg variations as well, like Bulgarian split squats or some sort of lunge, but it's going to be a larger, more compound movement, and that is going to be more important for my progression with powerlifting. So whilst I don't normally go heavy on accessories, the first accessory is one that I can start to push the weight on, and I decided to do here because my knee injury is feeling so much better. So if you followed the series for a while, you'll have heard me talk about my knee injury, particularly in the early episodes. My knee was very painful, and there is no way I could have done those triples, definitely not with elevated heel squats. So I'm just basically going to start progressively overloading and going a lot heavier on those, because I think that's going to transfer over well to powerlifting. Obviously, training heavy is going to result in better 1-rep maxes. So the first accessory is heavy, but as you can see from this next accessory here, it is hamstring curls, single leg hamstring curls. I've gone high rep for all of the other accessories. So I still believe in doing that and trying not to accumulate too much fatigue with your accessories. So I think I did sets of 25 here with 50 pounds on the single leg hamstring curls. This is the most number of reps I've ever done. And last week for my deload week, I did 40 pounds for sets of 20. So this is like a sizable step up from that. And even those felt a little bit challenging on the deload week. So I was happy to hit that with these. I think I've done sets of like 22 with 60 pounds before, but just pumping the hamstrings up feels really good. Now, you might think as well, oh, if you're training sets of 25, surely you'd be better doing sets of like 12 at a heavier weight. Well, I also believe in doing that as well. Varying your rep ranges is a very effective way to bust through plateaus, just applying a varied stimulus on your body. I believe in training all rep ranges, and then you get the benefits of all rep ranges. However, when it comes to the single leg hamstring curl, the reason I went light here was because recently when I've been going heavier, even to like sets of 15, just the weight increase has been causing a tiny bit of pain in the tendons on the back of my hamstrings. So I'm trying to lighten the load and do some extra like pump work. And at this weight, at 50 pounds, there's no pain. I can do a set of 25 and push myself hard, push somewhat close to failure. However, if I up the weight even to the 60 pounds or 70 pounds, which is literally the next 2 weight increments on my weight stack, I get the little bit of pain at the back of my knee. So that's annoying, but I will overload back to doing like sets of 10. I've gone as heavy as like sets of 6 before, but the reason I've decided to go so light on those with sets of 25 is because of the pain in the back of my knees. So the next accessory here was calf raises. I did some elevated calf raises, but just a 2-inch elevation. I have another block that's a 4-inch elevation, which I get a deeper stretch on the calf, but I just wanted to get somewhat of a stretch. But because I went heavy here at 170 kilos, I decided I probably wouldn't be able to get very many reps if I used a large elevation. I think I got 2 sets of 10 here, which was good. And basically, I decided to do these just because I had 170 kilos loaded up on the bar from the elevated heel squat. So I was being a little lazy there in setup. That is something that is annoying whenever I do lower workouts, particularly because my gym is so small. I don't have a lot of different pieces of equipment, or a lot of them revolve around the rack basically, which means I'm lugging a lot of plates around. It's one of the reasons I picked high band tension for my max effort, because then I only had to load up 150 kilos of bar weight rather than constantly moving plate after plate. But also when it comes to my accessories, I try and minimize the amount of time I have to move plates around. Like if I tried to do belt squats today, it is a massive pain to get the machine out from where it is in the corner and then load up like 4 or 5 plates aside. It ends up extending the workout for ages. So that's another reason why on my calf raises there, I generally like to keep it to whatever I have been using for like my leg push. So either elevated heel squats or like belt squats, because it's just much simpler and reduces the total amount of time of the workout. So the next accessory here was hip adductions with the roller. I haven't done these with the roller in a while, but these felt fantastic, aside from the roller getting caught on the second side a few times there. That was a little annoying, but these felt really good. Taxed the adductors, the inner thighs, a lot. It felt very challenging. I didn't quite go as deep as I could. I probably went to about 80–90% depth, but if you see me doing this exercise the last time I did it, I'll have definitely gone deeper than this. When I first started the series though, I probably wasn't even able to get this deep, but I wanted to be able to do slightly higher rep sets. So I think I got sets of 8 there, but normally if I go to full depth, I can only get like sets of 4. So in order to hit a slightly higher rep range, I didn't quite go as deep, and the depth is actually the way that I progressively overload that exercise rather than weight. And then if by some miracle one day my adductors get incredibly strong, I'll maybe start holding dumbbells and using that to weight me. But I'm already like 250 pounds, and going as deep as I can is very challenging. That is probably my favorite adductor variation aside from machine adductors, but obviously I don't have one of those in the gym. So that was nice and effective, and at the time of recording this, my adductors are a bit tender the morning after this workout, so I definitely think it hit them effectively. Then the final accessory here, as always, reverse hypers, just doing 2 sets of 15 at 150 kilos, pumping up the posterior chain. My lower back in particular felt it much more today, maybe because my deadlifts were so heavy with the band tension, but yeah, it definitely hit the lower back today more than usual. So that is it for today's video. I hope you did in fact enjoy the video. If you did, drop it a like, drop it a comment, subscribe, click the bell, all that good stuff, and have a great day.